welcome to NFL on the Wire, our fantasy football show exclusive to SkySports.com and on demand. I'm Laura Woods, and as ever, we kick off the show with a quick look back at our top 3 fantasy performers from last week. Here we go.
Cousins on third down, looking for Reed. He's gone. Touchdown. Second and 3. Brady to Gronkowski. All the way for the touchdown. Well, it's just Campbell. They brought the house on the blitz that time. Continue to look at J.J. Watt, 2nd and 4 here. Tannehill under center. This is Miller. Another wide open seam. Miller's still going. Plenty of open grass in front of him. 20-10. Touchdown Miami. 85 yards. Miller is into the end zone.
Big performances there, and Kirk Cousins won the internet with the mother of all celebrations in the locker room. We'll put up a link to that in case you missed it. But now our fancy expert Adam Rank is here to answer all your questions. He's Skyping in from LA. He is right here for you. Adam, how are you?
I am wonderful. I saw that Kirk Cousins video. That's what I look like every week after this hit. I walk around, I yell at people randomly, like, you like that? You like that? That's what I do.
Oh, it was really impressive. It was the most animated I've ever seen him, so I was very impressed with that. Let's get things started, Adam. So we'll look at the draft, we'll look at the waiver wire to begin with, and how you're doing and who we can pick up like we do every week. We'll start there. So what have you got for us this week?
Well, last week we talked about Stephon Diggs. He actually went out and did very well for us, for our mutual team.
Yeah.
And not to brag about any of that.
We did pick him up. We did, and he did very well.
We did. We were very savvy with that. So every once in a while we'll get one right. But one of the guys we're looking at this week is going to be Darren McFadden. He, obviously with Arian Foster out for this for the rest of the season, McFadden becomes the #1 waiver wire priority. I would put him ahead of Alfred Blue, the #1 running back for the Texans now, because McFadden is playing with that offensive line. He looked very good against the Giants, even though that was a great matchup. He's still somebody to go out and pick up. And if you don't need a running back this week, there's another guy, a little sneaky guy. You can't play him for a couple of weeks, but David Cobb is somebody to keep an eye on. If you've got a hole in your roster, burning a spot, go pick him up as a sneaky play, because he will eventually be the Titans' #1 running back.
Now, just quickly, Adam, going back to Darren McFadden, they do have a couple of really difficult games coming up, Seattle and Philly, both with very strong run defenses. Can I pull you up on that?
No, you can absolutely go against what I'm saying. And really, there's going to be a little bit of a risk with McFadden, because he also, in addition to the tough matchups, he's got an injury history that is long and well documented. But the thing is, he looked great this past week. There's really not a lot of options out there, not a lot of guys who are going to be looking to pick up, because #1 running backs just aren't available this late in the season. So when somebody is there waiting for you, and Jerry Jones and the coaching staff came out this week and said he is going to be the #1 running back into this week, you got to go give him a shot.
Okay, Adam, we don't often talk about tight ends on the waiver wire, but anyone that we could look out for?
Eric Ebron is a very good pickup. He came back last week after missing a few games because of an injury. He looks very good, and the Lions have made a coaching change. Jim Bob Cooter, which seems like a fake name. It seems like if you were writing a very hacky movie about American football, Jim Bob Cooter would just be a name you'd make up. It's legitimately the guy who will be running the offense for the Lions, but we hope that he will get the best out of Matthew Stafford, which means better performances out of him, better performances out of Calvin Johnson. And Eric Ebron has been very good. And last year he was a rookie, highly touted, a little bit of a disappointment, but you know what? That happens a lot of times with rookie tight ends. But this guy is good and should be picked up immediately and started.
Okay, so it's that time of the season now when you can start to think possibly about fantasy droppables. So what I'm interested in now is, who are the guys that we would have picked to begin with in the draft that we now think, oh, maybe I should drop?
Well, Jordan Matthews is going to be the one that everybody thinks about, because he was a highly touted guy in a very dynamic offense. So I can understand if you want to give him a drop, but you know what? I would tell people, hang on to him for at least another week, or actually the Eagles are going to be in a bye, but give him one more opportunity because he is very talented. He could be the kind of guy, because listen, if somebody drops him, I will be happy to go out and pick him up. So I would grab him, and then you know what? You look at some of the quarterbacks who are going to be on a bye this week, you could probably part ways with. I know Blake Bortles has been very good for us over the course of the last couple of weeks. But if you're really in a bind for a quarterback, you know what? And you got to let him go. I understand. It's not the easiest thing to do. But the quarterback position is the easiest one to replace. You can go out and pick up Teddy Bridgewater this week. You can pick up Jay Cutler. And Eli Manning's probably available too. See, there's other options out there.
Okay, Adam, I've got to give it to you because in the NFL UK League, you did give us some sterling advice last week, and I took that as well. Todd Gurley, 27 points in NFL UK, massive score, and actually pushed me right up the rankings. So I have to say thank you very much for that.
Certainly. Wait, did you pass me, though? That's the one thing I'm worried about.
No,
I'm worried that I kept
the
Antonio Gates in my lineup. I hope I didn't do that. I hope I changed it in time.
Oh.
But Todd Gurley, this guy needs to be in your lineup each and every. He should be the automatic build your team around him, because what we're seeing right now is the birth of a true workhorse #1 running back, and I expect him to do this all year.
Excellent. Right, we're going to bring in the tweets because lots of people have lots of things to ask you because your advice is starting to really take on a new life of its own.
Don't sound so surprised, you.
I know. Okay, Paul Hingham now. So who do you replace Arian Foster with? He was just starting to get going well, he says.
Yeah, that's a really tough one. But like we said earlier, McFadden is probably the #1 guy on the waiver wire we would want to go and pick up. Alfred Blue would be the immediate guy who will end up being the #1 running back for the Houston Texans. And the one thing about Alfred Blue, earlier in the season, he had that opportunity, really didn't make the most of it. But now we're hoping that without the specter of Foster returning, hopefully he will take advantage of that position and really embrace the opportunity to be the #1 running back, because he doesn't have to look over his shoulder. He doesn't have to worry about Arian Foster coming back and retaking that job. So as the #1 guy, hopefully he can take advantage of that and wait and see. But still, all that being said, I would still have, I would rather have Darren McFadden over him.
Okay, our next tweet is from Damian Joyce, and it's about tight ends, and he says, Julius Thomas on a bye, of course, and an uninspiring Gates could miss more time. Should I drop JT for Ladarius Green for now?
Eric Ebron, again, would be the #1 guy. Larry Donnell for the Giants would actually be a pretty good pickup this week. The Giants have a great matchup going forward. And Jordan Reed is another guy, too. If he's available on your waiver wire, he should be added immediately. I would put him as the #2 guy behind Ebron.
Okay, next up is one of your friends has come back to visit.
Oh, no.
And to tweet us again.
It better not be Keith Jackson.
It might just be Keith Jackson. Oh, it is. It's Keith Jackson. Hi, Keith. So, right, what does Keith have to say? He says, let's move on from Stafford. At least somebody's taken the initiative to move on from that. Do I stick with Kamar Aiken or Nate Washington? Is he a better option?
Well, the one thing about Nate Washington is that the Texans figure to be in a lot of blowouts and will be throwing an awful lot. And we saw last week he was able to take advantage of a few targets and turn that into a pretty good game. Kind of the game we were expecting out of DeAndre Hopkins. I wouldn't expect that from him week in and week out. I would feel better about going and looking for a guy like Stevie Johnson, who's got a great matchup this week. Michael Crabtree is somebody that should have been added onto teams a long time ago, but a lot of people are ignoring him because the history of him, it's not very good. So they have a bad, that's what happens. You get burned by a player a couple of times, you don't want to go to him, but a sneaky one this week, Tavon Austin. I really like what the St. Louis offense is doing with Todd Gurley there. That offense now has a focal point, and now opposing defensive coordinators have to look at a way to stop Todd Gurley, which means it can open it up for guys like Austin. So I would take any of those three guys over Keith's other player.
Excellent.
And he told me too. We're 1-1, by the way. He said I got him that week, but we might be going for the rubber match here.
You guys are okay now. All right, Adam, well, another sterling week of advice. Thank you so much. That is all we've got time for. And if you want to get involved in our fantasy football chat, tweet your questions to @SkySportsNFL. And he will be here to answer more of your questions next week. That's it for today. We'll see you then.
Enjoy Sky Sports Live on all screens, on the go, and the best bits on demand.